welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about Donald Lu's testimony as far as the cipher case is concerned, as far as the cipher controversy particularly is concerned, as far as the former chairman of PTI. PTI as a political party and their narrative in light of that, and the revelations, what they mean for the future of PTI as a political party, and how it dents the narrative that had been given out earlier by PTI as a political party. A little later on, we'll also be talking about the economic situation, and of course in the light of the IMF as far as their conditionalities are concerned, what can we expect, what kind of agreement, what kind of a review are we looking at now? All of that today on Perspective. I have with me today Naveed Aman, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for being with us today. Abdullah Mohmand, who is also a senior analyst. Thank you for joining us today. A little later on, we'll also be joined by Dr. Khaqan and Najeeb to talk about the economy and what we can expect. And also, we will be joined by Agha Iqrar, who's a senior journalist. Thank you so much, Agha Sab, for joining us. Before I go on, some of the chunks of the statement as far as Donald Lu is concerned, he says it is not accurate. At no point does it accuse the US government or me personally of taking steps against Imran Khan. And thirdly, the other person in the meeting, the then ambassador of Pakistan to the US, has testified to his own government that there was no conspiracy. There is a line of acceptability, and I think at times, I think this is extremely important when he says, and I think at times some of the free speech has merged into threats of violence, which is not acceptable in our society. When he was asked about his alleged role in the regime change, he says that of course I was absolutely not involved, neither were the Americans. Overall, we want to talk more about the ramifications of this very revealing statement on PTI's politics and what it means overall for the way that this conspiracy was built up and then of course waved and thrown out into the public arena. Naveed Sab, how do you look at this? Of course, these statements and the way, of course, we've also seen statements come from the PTI leadership on the statement of Donald Lu itself. What is your take on what is being said now?
Mahrukh, when Imran Khan came out of the power, he had nothing in his pocket or in his hand to show the masses. So he decided to play with the masses. Okay. He held a piece of paper in his pocket and he showed that piece of paper to the masses, saying that it is a cipher which is an evidence of throwing his government from the parliament to the masses. Now, if he had anything to deliver or to present to the masses, he should not have shown that a piece of paper.
But what is it? But what does it say about the role of, of course, his political party? Abdullah, I'm going to include you in this discussion also. His political party, the narrative building, the role of the media, the role, the political realm in which this conspiracy, this theory has been built up. Because of course now, this is, of course, on international level. It is a statement that is, there's of course a lot of, not even allusion, there is, the fact that this was a conspiracy, the fact that the ouster itself, its own ramifications on his politics, on the future of that politics. How do you look at that?
Thank you so much, Mahrukh. I'm covering PTI since 4 years, and before this program, I was covering this core committee today, in which they rejected the Donald Lu statement as well. They decided to start agitation against Asad Majid, the then ambassador to the United States, because they believe that their narrative was bashed by the Donald Lu and the Congress committee. I still remember that gathering in parade ground when the PTI founder waved this a document that this is a cipher from United States and a conspiracy has been established to topple their government. But a very Pakistani historian and author posted on his Twitter that he waved his grocery list and shows that there is a diamond cipher. So this is very unfortunate in the international relation of Pakistan or the foreign policy, because I covering foreign office since 20 years as a reporter. So it is a diplomatic cable between the embassy of Pakistan, United States, and the foreign office, which was used against political will, against for their own political propaganda, to pollute the masses, that their government have been toppled, ousted by the United States.
But there are
which
different
itself
angles to it. Abdullah, I'm going to interrupt you. I mean, of course, one, that the way that, this was built up, the propaganda itself, the fact that, the way that it was then put into the political realm, again, like you said, it's about diplomatic ties, it's about, countries and your relationship with them. Again, it's about what is sacred in that political, in that diplomatic realm, so to speak. And what is confidential, what is not confidential, for this to come out like this, for this to be played up to the galleries, so to speak, how normal is it, firstly? I mean, has it been done before, or is this, was it a no-go area that the PTI went into?
Definitely, there was a no-go area. The founder of People's Party, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and the former Prime Minister once told, someone suggested to bring these secrets to the public, when he rejected and said that I have scores of secrets in my chest, buried in my chest, but I will let it to my grave. I will not public it. So definitely, because this communication between the embassies and foreign office are always coded, and it not only compromises the Pakistan-US relationship to some extent, but as well raise question on the role of foreign office, that how would a coded cable, diplomatic cable, which was later decoded by the foreign office, reached to then Prime Minister, and he used it for political purposes as well. This cipher is no more.
Does it not, I will include Agha Sahab in the discussion also, but does it not in a normal course of things get to the Prime Minister?
No, I don't think so.
Never.
Never. It never happened in the history of Pakistan that a Prime Minister waved a document
Or even
in the public alley.
elsewhere, it has never been that any Prime Minister or ex-Prime Minister disclosed such top state
I'm
secrets.
saying that one, of course, there's one issue whether he can disclose it or not, but he does come, it does come to him, does it not? I mean, these confidential documents, these ciphers in the normal course of things would come to the Prime Minister.
Yeah, the official of the Foreign Office, as well the Principal Secretary to Prime Minister, as well the Foreign Minister discuss with Prime Minister about the things about the foreign relation, about the updates of the foreign affairs or the foreign policy. But they never handed over that cable to the Prime Minister, which was done at that time by then Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, and later they still he claimed repeatedly that he has no cipher and blah blah blah.
And then the cipher, of course, I will include Agha Sahab also. Agha Sahab, and then of course the cipher seemed to have gotten lost. We didn't know where it was. We don't know. I mean, a lot of things happened with the cipher. Cipher traveled quite a bit, so to speak. First it was waved at political gatherings, then it was lost also. Now, of course, the legality of it and the fact that, of course, this is also a case that is currently in progress in courts also.
Thank you so much. First of all, there are three very important things we should understand while we are discussing cipher. The first thing is the Prime Minister is above the Secretary in Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, because technically he is the head of constitutional government. So definitely all documents which you and me consider classified, they are not classified for the position and the office of the Prime Minister. And definitely whenever there is something serious and sensitive, these things are always discussed with the Prime Minister before taking any decision, because it's a matter of foreign affair. And if you remember, in past, it had been you can say, not routine, but practice in Pakistan, that usually the Prime Minister had to have the foreign ministry also with him in, I mean, for many, many years, because this is a very sensitive arena of, Pakistan's relationship with other countries. So everything is always discussed and shown to the Prime Minister. But the second point is there are two governments everywhere in the world. One is the permanent government and one is the constitutional government. The permanent government is your bureaucracy, not Pakistan, everywhere in the world. Because permanent government stays there. Politicians comes, the constitutional government comes and they go. The responsibility, 100% responsibility for secrecy lies with the permanent government. So there was a breach of the permanent government also, because the Secretary of Foreign Affairs and the Principal Secretary of the then Prime Minister, they discussed, they shown, and even they handed over to this classified document to the then Prime Minister, which was a very great breach that had never been discussed at length, because one became the approver and one was not even questioned for that.
But so, there is also, we've consistently been talking about the fact that, as far as PTI as a political party is concerned,
I'm coming.
There's nothing that was sacred. As far as
PTI always used you can say, national security issue for the domestic purposes and for the political buy. And that is why, if you remember, even when the cipher decision had not come, I was of the view this is a very clear case of Article 6. Because it is not a matter of whether this was a document, the original document in his hand when he was in a Vihari, public meeting or not. No. This is a matter, a man who was the Prime Minister, he was threatening the state of the Pakistan that if you do something against me, I will expose and I will share all secrets which I have in my mind. This was a completely blackmailing and the threatening. A Prime Minister was threatening his own state. This was, I think, one of the only rare event or unprecedented event I ever read in any book or in any newspaper. So PTI always considered itself beyond the state, bigger than the state.
But what is now being said as far as the PTI is concerned? The spin to the Donald Lu statement, the way that it is said, it is being said that since there was no cipher, which in fact was waived at political gatherings, therefore it exonerates the former Prime Minister Imran Khan Sahab. This is being said as far as the PTI is concerned. How would you respond to that?
This is very, childish thing. The damage is already done. Just imagine, Mahrukh, when you are talking something with me in a privacy or in a confidence, and I am sharing everything with the public in a Vihari meeting, would anybody else share anything with me in future? Not at all. Pakistani diplomats have lost their reputation and their credibility and their confidence over the foreign diplomats forever, for all times to come. It will take years and years to repair it. So whatever the PTI is saying, I don't care. And if you remember, you was talking about the PTI as a political party. I have never accepted PTI as a political party. I always said it's a pressure group or a cult. So they did the damage to the Pakistan.
Let me go to Naveed Sahab. Naveed Sahab, whether we accept them as a political party or not, whether they're a cult group or not, the point is that at this time, whether we say that they're under the Sunni Ittihad Council, the question is, they're a part of the opposition, very real opposition in the parliament right now. For me, the question is, have they learnt from what has happened in the past? Because there, of course, seems to be a lesson there that, leaving politics, perhaps sitting out didn't work well for the PTI as a political party, to which a lot of more experienced politicians now say that they were telling the former Prime Minister. That lesson seems to have been learnt. But do you think that there are other lessons also? There's something about violence also that I read out as far as Donald Lu's statement is concerned, that he talks about also. So do you think that there are lessons learnt as a political party as far as the PTI is concerned?
Mahrukh, there are many lessons which should have been learnt by PTI. But unfortunately, I don't think that PTI or its leader or its all other leaders have learnt any lesson from the circumstances prevailing. All the PTI leaders, they toe the line of the PTI leader, Imran Khan. Whatsoever is the line of Imran Khan is being taught by all of the leaders. That is why recently you have seen the attitude of Gandapur. What he has been showing or giving impression to the masses is the same line of Imran Khan. So it is the need of the time that PTI or its leaders or even the founder of the party should learn lesson from what they have been doing in past, so that Pakistan could have a complete political party, a behavior of a complete political party, and a behavior of a political party which can serve the nation and the country in a good way. So if PTI or its leader doesn't learn anything.
There are cases in the PTI at this time. I'm going to include Abdullah. Abdullah, of course, a lot of, we've had this discussion before also. As far as the makeup of the assembly, the National Assembly, there are a lot of new faces, the first timer politicians right now, and a lot of youngsters also. Do you think that the kind of maturity that is needed, not separate entities, but as political parties, because if we look at the other mainstream political parties, they're much older. Do you think that political maturity is perhaps now coming, or is it going to come, as far as PTI as a political party is concerned, as far as the former chairman, who is of course the leader for PTI, even though he's in jail at this time, is also going through that rethink, or no?
I don't think so. There are few mature politicians inside PTI. In private discussion with us, they are not happy, but they are not satisfied. What's happening in the parliament or the politics of the agitation they are doing since 2013. But unfortunately, there is a kingship system inside the party, and no one can deny and no one can refute the orders, the directions of the party, former party chairman Imran Khan. Regarding the new faces, unfortunately, in the parliament, most of the seasoned politicians have participated in the student politics and in the local government politics, and then the member of provincial assembly, and they came through a very natural process of politics, political nurseries. But these new faces, they are mostly student or businessmen. They didn't go through that political nurseries, they didn't go that natural political process.
But are they not also, a lot of the people who were part of the PTI were also from other political parties?
Yeah, but they were following the direction of the then PTI chairman, but they were not satisfied what's happening in the private meetings. They always deny that what's happening is not good for Pakistan or politics, or that is not the beauty of the politics, and what is happening or what PTI is doing agitation inside the parliament. And same, whenever I covered the last 2-3 sessions of the parliament, there are the new faces which came to parliament for the first time. They are sloganing very unethical slogans. They are raising the same slogans which was raising by PTI since 1996. So they are very near and very inspired from then PTI chairman and former Prime Minister Imran Khan. So when you see in parliament, they created agitation inside the
parliament. You're saying that they're not the more tolerant. They are not the more tolerant.
I can say that
they're the more perhaps the more, what can one say? Perhaps they're more volatile, so to speak.
Yeah, but there are good people. Asad Qaisar have thinking that and he's not happy, satisfied. What's happening? They believe that they should sit with the other political parties and get out Pakistan of the political and economic crisis they are facing today, the worst economic crisis Pakistan, as well the challenge of terrorism. As well, there are other political leaders within PTI. They want that they should sit with other political parties for the sake of Pakistan. But unfortunately, whenever they claim about to settle this political chaos inside Pakistan. PTI followers on Twitter and social media starting bashing them, and they are claiming that they are the touts of the establishment.
They're saying, in fact, PTI has said that they're starting protests again.
It was decided in
following this statement.
It was decided it was decided earlier, but it was decided again in today core committee of the PTI that there will be a massive agitation on 30th of March in the whole country against this government and against the election rigging.
But also the statement following the statement, I think they also
statement. It was decided today. It was discussed in the core committee, and it was also discussed that they will start agitation against Asad Majeed, because Asad Majeed is lying and they are not speaking the truth. So the PTI
and also Donald Lu also.
Donald Lu. They rejected the statement of the Donald Lu
because it was. They rejected the statement means. What exactly? That the statement was not made, or that they don't agree with the statement, or that they're saying that it's false? Exactly what does it mean when they say they reject the statement?
They think that Donald Lu should have accepted it.
Okay.
I mean, according to their will and wishes. So it doesn't happen. We were talking about the new faces. The new faces, they look on the success of Marwat and Gandapur.
The politics within.
The way Marwat and Gandapur has expressed in the parliament and out of the parliament and has told the line of PTI chairman, the new faces also think that this is the way to become more important in PTI.
So they think that more that volatile style of politics will perhaps give them that.
It will spoil the entire PTI culture.
So they feel, of course, that it will gain them that kind of traction that
definitely
PTI is known for.
It's very important point that whenever I discuss with the new faces, they have no political inspiration. That who is the political leader on national, international, from whom they are inspired, but they are following the TikTok pattern. That they need a publicity stunt just for the following. They need more followers on TikTok. That their video should be, their comments should be, their views should be viewed by millions of people. What Shirab Marwat is doing on daily basis on TikTok. So they have no political inspiration and political vision. They have this. They are adopting the same, that they will not. They all are thieves and all are corrupt. Except PTI, so they have no political inspiration at this time.
I'm going to Agha Sahab, this belief that everybody, that they are sacred and everybody else is corrupt and all, and this at a time when we are talking about, we were earlier also talking about economic charter, or perhaps things like political charter also, where there are no-go areas. We can set some, we've also seen the PMLN, for example, as a political party make some headway in that regard, towards a kind of politics which is beneath, where certain allegations perhaps of personal nature are beneath character, are going to be rejected. In this kind of an atmosphere, isn't it going to be difficult to move towards that kind of politics?
Mahrukh, we have to face it now, because the assembly is there, and the opposition has a very good number in Punjab as well as in the National Assembly. I doubt there would be some sanity prevails among politicians of PTI. And we were talking about the new politician, the old politician, the new faces. It makes hardly any difference. This cipher fiasco was done by Shah Mahmood Qureshi, who has almost around 35 years in, you can say, in the position of first permission minister and then the federal minister several times. What he did, you have seen that. So it is not a matter of new faces or old faces, the young or the old. In cult, there is no young and no old. In cult, command comes and direction comes from the cult leader. And every cult member has to follow. Even if he says in evening that this is a morning, everybody has to follow. This is the structure of the PTI. So whosoever would come, they will have to follow whatever their founder chairman says. And founder chairman, I take the responsibility of saying this. He is he's an anarchist, and he's you can say, From the very first day, he wants to do something that can harm Pakistan. Unfortunate, very unfortunate. He's narcissist. His ego is so strong. And then, unfortunately, he was drafted, crafted, planned like that. You are the bigger than Pakistan. You are the greater than the state. State is nothing in front of you. The parliament is nothing. This constitution is nothing. You are the person. Everybody must follow you. So this is this casting. So he is not ready to change his mind. His target is Pakistan, I tell you. His target is not only the Pakistan army. His target is not only the bureau of the judiciary of the Pakistan. His target is Pakistan actually. I'm sorry to say that, and I take the responsibility.
Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us. Agha Iqrar Sahab, thank you for joining us. I'm going to move on to the second part of our program. We have with us Dr. Khaqan Najeeb, who's a senior economist. I want to talk more about economy and the kind of challenges that this government faces, of course, the IMF. Dr. Khaqan, can you hear me?
Yes, Mahrukh, I hear you very well.
Dr. Khaqan, we've been talking about the challenges as far as economy is concerned for a while. As far as the new program is concerned, the 3-year program, which the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also talked about, and he said he talks about a continued partnership with IMF for economic stability. What are your views on this program? How challenging can it prove for Pakistan?
So, one thing we have to see is go back a few months, and when the IMF program engagement was not there, what you saw was that your reserve had gone down to about $4 billion, and there was uncertainty in the country. So I think there are two things that have happened after seeing the standby arrangement. Your reserves have pulled up, so there is macro stability, and the key manifestations are your reserves have pulled up, your current account is improved. It's only $1 billion in the first 8 months. Same period last year, it was about $4 billion. And thirdly, your inflation has started to taper. And I think the fourth thing that, being with the fund does, which is, extremely important, is that it helps you ensure that the gross financing needs of the country are fully taken care of. I think being in the IMF umbrella for Pakistan, that's the most important part. So thinking forward, Pakistan's needs this year of $25 billion, most of which I think we are trying to ensure are taken care of. And these kinds of needs going forward need an umbrella to stay with the IMF facility. So the next program is definitely going to be much more challenging for the people of Pakistan, for the state, for the government to run that. And the reason is that currently what you're doing is you're going through an interim kind of a program. So it's a standby arrangement. It's not an extended fund facility. Pakistan would be looking at a 3-year fully funded facility with the fund. When I say fully funded, the most important part, of course, is that the gross financing needs of around $25 billion to $28 billion a year over the next 3 years would be taken care of once you enter the fund facility. Number two, of course, this time you have to be much more structural in nature. When I say structural, because this word's been used too much, so let me clarify. It's not going to be only about putting in new policy measures on the tax side, but, really enhancing the base, which means the filers, really enhancing Pakistan's, the tax gap, which exists in many sectors. So what are those sectors? We all know that real estate is undertaxed. We all know retail is undertaxed in the country. We also know that the agriculture income tax has great potential compared to what we are collecting. So you would have to start thinking much more structurally in nature. And what that means is that you change the structure of taxation in the country. You broad base your taxation. You make your taxation much more progressive than it is currently. And you also try to fill the tax gaps that exist in the country. Similarly, on the energy side, I've always said that pricing is not a reform. But on the other hand, what you also must remember is that the fund does not have the capability to change your engine of growth, which is, your deregulation. So there you would have to do some work on your own and then go to the fund and, kind of put your thing together. So I've now put in two things in front of you. One, the energy. The second is the deregulation of the economy. And third, even the privatization. All these are aspects on which the fund doesn't have command. Fund is there to help you balance your books. Fund is there to help you on the current account. Fund is there to ensure that your deficits are taken care of. And that's what should be achieved in the first 6 months to a year, and you would start seeing that effect. I think we are seeing that effect. It will continue. But the real ball game here is that can we go in with the fund devising a homegrown plan which takes care of the deeper issues, which takes care of the fiscal consolidation, not only through taxation policy measures, but broad basing, progressivity, and much more importantly, can we do the expenditure reforms within the ambit of the fund? Can we deregulate the economy so that we create not only domestic investment, but also FDI in the country? SIFC with a whole of government approach.
Dr.
Can
Khaqan,
be
how much of a long-term goal is this? When we talk about creating this kind of an environment, a conducive environment for investment, if we look at where we are today, how much of a long-term goal, realistically speaking, do you see it as?
I think that's a really, really important question. Well, how can we time this? So there are many ways to think about it. So if you think beyond the antibiotic, you really believe that it is going to be a surgical treatment that you want to do, and you start a surgical treatment of the economy, I think it's a year to a 3-year job where you can actually see the economy picking up, where you can see the macro stability, which I think is a necessary but not a sufficient condition for progress and growth, moving forward. But you can see the change there. But again, that depends. Can we do the surgery on the energy sector? Can we do the surgery on the deregulation? Can we actually go and improve financial intermediation in Pakistan and make sure that people get the finances? Right now, there's one sense I get that the narrative that seems to be building is that the government is going whole hog on the taxation bit, but the other bits, the ease of doing business or the deregulation, the productivity bits, which are much more important than the taxation bit, are getting overlooked. I don't think the government means that, but I think that's the kind of narrative. So I think the narrative has to be corrected there. And it's understandable. Being with a fund, sometimes countries do give that impression of austerity. But I think for Pakistan, what's become really, really important is to figure out the micro of Pakistan, which is the productivity in the agriculture, the deregulation of the things that we need to do so that our industry gets more interested in Pakistan.
Dr. Khaqan, please stay with us. I'll just come back to you. I'm going to include Naveed Sahab and Abdullah in this discussion. Naveed Sahab, we talk about the measures that Dr. Khaqan is talking about. Those measures need, of course, time. They also need patience. Do you think that the voter at this time, of course, now the people at this time are prepared for that kind of patience after the elections? You think that they know that they will have to be patient with the kind of results that are needed, the long-term results, which will mean that it will take some time for the government to make those changes?
Definitely, the voters are having their eye on the government now. They are patient also. They want to have results as early as possible. Because they want to have relief from the government. The government is suffering, and government has gone to IMF. Yes, it is our problem. We will have to go to IMF. Yes, it is okay. But on the other side, we'll have to go for mining sector, for agriculture, for IT sector to have more money and go for the self-reliance touching these sectors. The next is we'll have to cut short our expenditures, non-productive expenditures or non-development expenditures of 1,000 billion rupees we can save. And the fourthly, we will have to save our electricity and gas. The theft of electricity and gas is causing more than 500 billion rupees annually. If we put these measures at a time, I think we will see the results as early as as possible, and the masses are definitely they are waiting for good results.
Let me include Abdullah as far as the political side of this, as far as of course the government wants to give relief to the people. But again, the question that is really important is that they only have a limited amount of space in which to do that. And they can give, we can talk about initiatives, we can talk about programs that perhaps help. We're also seeing Maryam Nawaz take a lot of initiatives as far as Punjab, for example, is concerned. For those to come into the centre also, of course the government wants to do that, but again, it's about the kind of funds that it has at its disposal. It's about the kind of the kind of space there is right now, right?
Unfortunately, Pakistan middle class, lower middle class and upper middle class suffered a lot in the last 5 years due to high taxations, huge electricity and petroleum prices in the history of Pakistan, and they are not ready, and they haven't a single capacity to pay more cost, to suffer more in this higher inflation. Unfortunately, if you calculate, if you see the digits, that Pakistan's salaries class paid more than 250 billion rupees taxes, but the retailers only 74 billion, and the industrialists less than 50 billion rupees.
But
so
the
what are
government
the
is
government
talking
priorities?
about including such, that class into the tax net also, which is I think what Dr. Khaqan was also talking about.
I don't think. The former finance minister, Miftah Ismail, was taking such initiative in the previous government, and he was including the automobile companies, the car companies and others, as well the industrialists, which were not paying taxes, which were getting subsidized gases and electricity. But who sidelined the Miftah Ismail from the slot of the finance ministry?
For the collection of the taxes,
the situation now
FBR
is, I
will
think,
have to be
different.
very vigilant.
Yes, and also the situation now is perhaps different. Dr. Khaqan, can you perhaps help us with regard to this as far as including these these companies or this bracket of people, or if you call it a class, whatever you may call it, into the tax net? Isn't that one of the initiatives that the government wants to take?
So I think the mistrust of the people is to a level justified, what the gentleman was saying, and because it has been time and again that we've gone to try and tax the retail and the wholesale. So what, 2.5 million retailers and wholesalers, I think 30,000 are in the income tax. Again, the POS machines, we tried to introduce, we weren't able to push through. I'll give you another example. Here, I'm with the people, and then I'll come to what I think where we stand now. In the Memorandum of Economic and Financial Policies, you would be surprised that we wrote Pakistan in January 2024, which has passed, will carry out a survey in the major cities and try and include the retail into the tax net, look at the bills, and we didn't do it again. So this is very, very justified. But now I think Pakistan has come to a place where there is seriousness not only in the new government, but also in the establishment, both military and civil, that without taking the broadening part along in the FBR reforms, we can't move forward. So what is happening is that the scheme, which is, I think, already with the FBR, they have the contours framed up, because they already wrote that a few months ago in the MEFP. So they are going to start pushing that through within the next couple of weeks. And by 1st of July, I think some kind of taxation measures in this sector would also come through. If this time, Mahrukh, we are not able to do it, then the mistrust of the people would go to a level that they will not believe. So I think we have our hands kind of being forced into it now. That's not a good way to put it, but I think that's where we stand. I think the resolve is there.
When we talk about political will, I understand that, of course, your expertise is economy, but political will, of course, this is also a question that would involve political will. As far as economy and making those changes is concerned, if we talk about the main political parties, of course, PPP and PMLN, who are coalition partners, I think they started with from the word go by saying that there are going to be, those changes are going to be made that are long-term sustainable solutions to where we are as far as economy is concerned. And I think the key to that kind of political popularity and their political acceptance as far as the masses are concerned, their, of course, their own particular group, as far as their popularity within the public is concerned, is to be making sure that they undertake those changes which you are talking about. No,
I think they've made the promises and they've shown an early will to move forward. Now is the real test. Yes, we've gone on the table to tax fees many a times in the last decade or so. Let's see if we can push this through. And then, the real reforms in the FPR, on the administrative side, on the enforcement side, on filling the tax gap, these are all hard tasks. Even if we show a will that we are doing a few of them, we show the technical movement, we show the digitization, the automation processes, I think the social contract that's so broken in the country will start to get renewed. For me, that's extremely important, because what the gentleman said, and I feel that the state should get serious about it. It's not going to be easy.
Dr. Khaqan, what about the role of the Special Facilitation Council? And of course, they've also shown the direction in which the new government is going to be moving. Isn't that true?
SIFC is a whole of government approach. The inertia that exists in the government is broken a number of times when SIFC pushes things. So far, on many issues, we've seen SIFC try to push PIA's privatization projects into the country. So I think it's a good way to implement, coordinate. Everyone's present there. Again, it's a desire being moved into motion kind of a thing. So I really hope that SIFC would also
desire. So at this time, what we see as far as the stakeholders, and as all stakeholders are concerned. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Khaqan, Najeeb. Thank you for your time. Agha, Iqrar Saab, thank you for being with us. Naveed Aman Saab, thank you for joining us. Abdullah Mohmand, thank you for being with us today. Overall, of course, we do see the political will as far as all stakeholders are concerned to, of course, move towards those reforms that are needed, inculcating those changes that are needed and that are going to have to be made for there to be long-term sustainable solutions. And I think we are looking at more of that to follow as the government moves into the business of course, the agreement with the IMF and making those necessary changes towards, of course, we are going to be looking at the budget, we are going to be looking at reform, we are going to be looking at inclusion of a certain class or a certain as far as into the tax net is concerned. All of those measures are, of course, welcome, and people await them. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.